Adaptive Environmental Management Plan for the Conservation of Greater Sage Grouse Habitat in the Wyoming Basin. The goal of this presentation is to outline the key elements of an adaptive management plan that centers on the conservation of Greater Sage Grouse habitats in the Wyoming Basin. The content herein is an initial development of a management framework that serves to guide the construction of the plan. Adaptive, science-based management of Greater Sage Grouse habitat. Habitat, sagebrush steppe ecosystem. Location, the Wyoming Basin. Keystone species, Greater Sage Grouse, Centrocercus europhagianus. The main focus of this adaptive management plan is conserving and restoring the habitat of the Greater Sage Grouse through the utilization of adaptive and science-based approaches. Ecologically speaking, the Wyoming Basin is of utmost significance because the sagebrush steppe is the home of a keystone species, the Greater Sage Grouse, and the population trends of this species are indicative of long-term decline brought about by fragmentation, wildfires, invasive species, and conflicts over the usage of the land. Stakeholders: Federal, United States Fish and Wildlife Service, Bureau of Land Management. State, Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Local, Carbon, Sweetwater, Fremont, and Natrona County governments. Energy industry, oil, gas, wind developers in the area. Agriculture, area ranchers, grazing permit holders, etc. Conservation organizations. Indigenous communities. Local residents. For adaptive management to be effective, the interests of diverse stakeholder groups must be integrated. Regulatory and biological expertise is provided by state and federal wildlife agencies, while ranchers and energy developers make contributions regarding major decisions on the use of land that will have an impact on the conditions of the habitat. Additionally, local governments, tribes, conservation groups, and residents also have vital interests, i.e., cultural, economic, and ecological, in regional interests. Vision statement: to sustain and restore sagebrush steppe ecosystems in the Wyoming Basin that provide long-term support to the population viability of Greater Sage Grouse, while balancing the demands of multi-use land via collaborative and science-driven adaptive management. The vision statement places emphasis on three key principles: 1. Ecological resilience, 2. Viability of species, and 3. A balance of multi-use land management. Additionally, the areas of emphasis are in line with the Bureau of Land Management's framework for adaptive habitat management, which emphasizes an integration of ecological resilience and strategies of disturbance reduction throughout the sagebrush biome. Overarching goals. Goal: enhance and maintain the integrity of the sagebrush steppe ecosystem and landscape connectivity. Goal: reduction in disturbance of the habitat from the development of energy, pressures from livestock grazing, and invasive species. Goal: stabilization of the Greater Sage Grouse population, in the long term, via targeted actions of conservation. Here, the goals are in line with both state and federal conservation frameworks for Greater Sage Grouse. It is vital to maintain the integrity of the sagebrush steppe ecosystem because the grouse are reliant upon contiguous habitat patches. Reductions in disturbances is reflective of plans already in existence from the BLM and from Wyoming's core area strategy. The main biological endpoint here to guide all management actions is the stabilization of the Greater Sage Grouse population in the Wyoming Basin. Objectives for the goals. Objectives for Goal 1. 1. 10 to 15% restoration of degraded sagebrush acreage within a 10-year timeframe. 2. Increase in connectivity metrics for the landscape, lek-to-lek corridors of movement. Objectives for Goal 2. 1. A less than 5% per 640 acres surface disturbance limitation in core habitats, in compliance with Wyoming Executive Order 2019-3. 2. A 20% reduction in the invasive species, cheatgrass, Bromus tectorum, in burn areas deemed high risk. Objectives for Goal 3. 1. Increase attendance of males at leks by 10% within 5 to 7 years. 2. Use targeted predator control and seasonal grazing adjustments to improve recruitment of juveniles. The listed objectives are strategic goals that can be tracked and serve as benchmarks. They are directly in line with federal and state plans of conservation, as well as peer-reviewed research on habitats and their thresholds, fragmentation of landscapes, and indicators of populations. Each goal is one that is bound by time, measurable, and geared toward adaptive review.